AL is right now. The lucky thing is we know that they can be better. They have at least shown that there is a better version to get to. The question now is, will they get there? They need to succeed in this draft. We see the Galio, Talia, Alistair taken off the board for AL. Right now, the Poppy and the Azir taken away from anyone's Legend. Notably, the Ryze is up. You can very much consider this first pick worthy. They have taken away a lot of the other macro threats coming out of the mid lane, but Pantheon as well, with the Trundle ban going to be left available, certainly
That's
a big
so
decision
smart
for AL.
That's so smart by NIP. They said, okay, you want to go take away the Ryze from Doinb? That's fine. We will go ahead. We'll take a Pantheon. And now all of a sudden, you can take some other good options out of the mid lane that'll pair well with that Pantheon, right? There's this Aurora that tends to be pretty good because you got a lot of damage. That'll be a big takeaway from AL later on. If you want to go something like an Ahri, you still can. Obviously, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because I'm not quite sure NIP is going to directly pull out their mid laner here, but there are still options available, or maybe they just will. And they'll go with Victor, which I think, I don't know. I like the scaling. It just never really went too well with me when it comes to him and Pantheon.
Yeah, I don't love the combo with Pantheon. This is the lane pick. Victor is a pretty strong counter to Ryze in terms of the way that you want to play out both lane and out of lane scenarios. This has always been one of Ryze's more difficult matchups, and so it makes sense for Doinb to feel like, hey, game one went pretty well. Let's go ahead and get me into something I can get an advantage on again. Will be the Scion and the Sivir locked in, though. Flandre has been exceptionally good on tanks, and it gives Hope something consistent that he doesn't have to main carry on entirely. It gives him escape tools as well, something that while he had on the Corki, weren't utilized to their fullest extent. Hopefully the team ends up playing around bot lane a bit better here, but it's just going back to the well for AL.
We're going to see this Ambessa get locked in for Solokill, one of his signature picks, and you've got a lot of dive. You've got a Victor that's able to kind of stay in the back and fire out these lasers, and if you're an IP, you are really looking for some more dive champions. This is a wise ban from AL. Take out that Kai'Sa. Don't let Leave get it. We all know what these players can do on Kai'Sa. Make him play a different AD carry and mismatch with Niket playing a dive champion.
That's the thing, is that there really aren't a lot of great options if you want to continue to play aggressive, and that's why I like taking away, junglers like Wukong and Xin Zhao. You did say earlier, Yanni, you asked me, like, is it just Tarzan moving off of some of these more aggressive picks? I want to remind people, Tarzan really made his name on Griffin back in the day, playing Sejuani, playing Maokai, playing Zac, playing these more
we go back to
tanky and, facilitators. I think that certainly could be an option coming in here for the team. It does set up relatively well with the Ryze, but Senna just seems so obvious with the scaling alongside the Victor, and Leave is one of the best Sennas we have here in the LPL.
And not only that, there's no Smolder to really punish this or anything like that. So you get to go that center Rakan lane, which will give you the dive that you need. You'll be able to hit from super far away, play super safe. Obviously, depending on what AL takes, you might not necessarily go for that. I really like the idea of picking a Leona here. I think giving Leona a speed boost with the Sivir on the hunt will certainly be able to help out getting to some of these targets a little bit quicker. Let's see what we're going to have out of our jungler here over for Tarzan. I think it's got to be another one of these aggressive champions just to really be enabled by the Sivir, and it will be that Naafiri.
Tarzan wants to carry. We're not seeing Sejuani. We're seeing Naafiri come in, and I think he kind of felt a little bit powerless in that game, diving in without the rest of the team, but it is a huge response here with the Braum getting locked in on R5. These are really interesting drafts that I think parallel game one really aptly in the way that they are set up, because I think both of these teams are, at the very least, attempting to learn from some of the mistakes that maybe they had. I think there are way more tools for NIP to avoid disaster in that early game while still really indexing into the scaling with Victor plus Senna, but Naafiri Ryze is one of the more dynamic mid-jungle duos, and you're not going to be left wanting for damage out of those two.
Without a doubt, and I think that this is a mid-jungle duo that can beat out the Pantheon and the Victor early on in some of these skirmishes, but it is going to be a little bit tough. Remember, we talked about how Victor having that little bit of extra range will be pretty big, especially when you start getting around to these team fights at these objectives. Okay, Kman, here's what I'm thinking for NIP. If you're NIP, you can kind of seed a lot of things here. There's a lot of early aggression, and yes, sure, you want to make things happen with this Pantheon, but you have a Senna, you have a Victor. The only thing you should be doing is really playing toward your Ambessa early if you're able to. Everybody says, don't go after the Scion. Scion early on can die to Ambessa Pantheon. We've seen it a lot this year. That's a surefire way to get solo kill ahead. And obviously, if you go elsewhere, it's just, you're really carrying the damage if you're Naiyou, which means you have to be absolutely on point.
A lot of responsibility on Naiyou in this game on the Pantheon to get moving and to get his carries fed. Will he step up? We had a rough game number 1 from him despite the win. He's going to need to be better. A lot of responsibility on his opposition on the other side with Tarzan as well. I am really excited for this setup. Both of these teams have options.
All right, let's go. We're back. Summoner's Rift Game 2. NIP up 1-0. The banner! Guys, what are we doing?
It's, you know.
They look like AL out there.
Just all discombobulated in the way that it's being presented. So many things happening.
Hang on. Look at them. Ooh, wee, wee, ooh. Wah, wah, wahs. Naiyou will take quite a bit of damage for himself once again. And this ward going down, he'll put a ward down himself as well. And I'm sure he'll go back and get an Niket. It's a little too late to go back here, so just going to drop that ward start on the bottom side here. Keep that in mind that, you know, once again, Tarzan might look to get aggressive. Take a look at what the spell suite is with summoners and with runes. We have Summoner Spellbook coming out from both supports here. Not too shocking, given the fact that there's not going to be too much lane combat going on.
Yeah, this is definitely a pretty standard start. Luckily, Pantheon not going to get set behind nearly as much as the Kiana for taking some damage in the early game. Definitely a worthwhile place to look, though, here in the bot lane.
Farm up those stacks, baby.
Early. Yeah, you got to get those stacks on to leave. If he can get stacking early with a Victor, yeah, this becomes real scary real fast.
Yeah, Leave has been really, really good at getting Senna stacks throughout this season, so I'm excited to see if this trend continues, especially in this game, because he'll spike so early on the Senna, much earlier than a lot of other Sennas do, just because he's got a good nose for getting them, and you know that might be able to take AL by surprise, especially in parts of the game where they're expecting that they're strong. We know that this team understands their conditions quite well, Kman, and if you get surprised by that, you can really throw off their gameplay.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get surprised by any sort of free gold. That's going to be, you know, it's going to go south really quickly. And I think especially for AL, you talked about it earlier, there are opportunities for, you know, NIP to potentially punish the top side. Well, I think there's a real possibility that you can spend resources and really put Leave into kind of a bad position, especially after level 4 or so when it comes to this Neferi. Even if you're not able to pick up a kill, it should be easy to allow Sivir to just constantly push in this wave and really put her in a good spot. So we'll see how much attention Tarzan wants to put. For now, it's just going to be standard clears, opposite side clears for these two junglers.
You saw on your screen just a moment ago, Hope a clean 7-0, looking to make it 8 in this game. He's going to have a lot on his plate later on. See Leave be able to walk this one out. Now they're turning on to Kael for good damage. Niket going to be able to hop away. We are seeing a lot more trading than I initially expected, Kman, but I'm all here for it.
Yeah, you definitely want to play aggressive if you're NIP, but Tarzan understands that as well, as I called out. Bot lane definitely going to be a bit of a priority for him. Leave actually taking quite a bit of chunk. See if he wants to go for this, potentially.
These guys are out of mana, Kman. Like, they are stuck on an island. Kael has plenty of mana to be able to go in here. Tarzan is in position. Here we go. We're going to land a couple stuns down. Leave going to be able to flash away. Kael got rooted, and it's first blood going over to Niket. And now Tarzan is in trouble. He gets caught too, and he goes down. A 2-for-1 for NIP.
It's horribly played by AL. It's just about as poorly set up as you can possibly make it. Not only is Kael immediately tanking the tower shots, but with the heal pop from Niket, they actually don't have the burst damage to take down any of them at the start of that fight. It's really well played by Niket to disengage that entire exchange, but it's a huge win for NIP, and we talked about getting that Senna further ahead. Tarzan needed to shut that down, and all he did was give more gold over to the main carry. Let's go ahead and get a replay of this. Once again, Kael engaging here is just a huge mistake because he's immediately rooted, and at this point, he's just dead. You don't have the damage to break through. If Hope's not free-firing this entire time, Tarzan ends up getting stunned up by the Braum, and at this point, it's doomed. Even with the 2-for-1 trade, the gold is not going in the right spot. You're not even getting it onto the Sivir, and so it's just a pretty bad play all around for AL, and definitely a win for NIP.
These boots are going to be really, really good for Leave. You can see right there. That's a boots of swiftness difference. He's got no summoners. He could have actually just died there.
That's definitely something you want to keep in mind in these exchanges early on. If Leave's going to be, you know, either even safer or allowed to play more aggressive, which is the more likely option considering the player, that really opens up a lot more opportunities for NIP. The Dragon is on the bottom side here. It will be Mountain Dragon. AL still, you know, controlling the lane. Sivir will generally do that despite, you know, any sort of early kill going down. But I'm interested to see if either of these junglers want to invest early.
Naiyou just hanging out, farming up, having a good time. You know, that's what you expect out of a Pantheon to go hit level 6 uninterrupted. Maybe you could make a play here or there, but again, based on the lane assignments, probably just a little bit better off that he takes his own camps because these lanes are a little weak in terms of what side of the map they're actually on. Meanwhile, we see Tarzan heading toward this bottom side again, but Naiyou is on his way. Don't tell me we're going to look for round 2, boys.
Oh, round 2 might be getting set up right now. Tarzan looking for the Gromp, not going to find anything, at least for now. It doesn't look like this is
Here we go, round 2.
Going in.
Round 2, baby, and this time you're not under the turret. It's not going to do a whole lot, though.
I don't understand what the thought process is here from Tarzan. It's really difficult to put these two behind under turret. You need to allow them to push, and that's going to be difficult against Sivir. They are going to be able to pressure out with the Dragon here because Shanks is doing a great job in lane of actually being able to control that wave despite Naiyou's interference. And luckily for that, they are going to be able to, at the very least, start pressuring this Dragon. But the team is still in this area. I don't know if NIP want to give this up.
This might not be free. Kael's been spotted out. Shanks below half HP, but Doinb's got no mana. He's got a wave pushing into him. We're going to see a little bit of poke. We're going to see a Realm Warp come out too. Shanks might get turned around on here. He's on vision. Leaf steps up a little bit too far. Kael's going to get a stun, but again, nothing more. Now it's just Leaf farming stacks off these members here. I think this is very good for NIP. So again, they're stepping up a little far here. Another engage going to come down, and Ignite's going to get burned too. Naiyou is level 6. Niket is in danger. The Dark Daggers are actually enough to kill him off the bleed. But again, these health bars are low. These stacks are getting farmed. Heal's going to be burned. Flashes from NIP. Kael barely survives after a spear to the back.
A truly messy exchange from both of these teams. AL has full control over the river because, as you pointed out, Doinb is not there.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
whoa, Naiyou, so deep. All of this for a 1-for-1. Although Niket is finally here, but Doinb can't really get close. He is level 7. He's got a little bit of mana. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to kill Shanks, and now all of a sudden this is a problem. Tarzan's level 6. Tarzan is going to get stunned. Niket will die once again to the bleed out on the Dark Daggers.
This is chaos, Yanni. We are amongst crazy people on the Rift here today. That's 4 kills for Tarzan as we walk out of that exchange here at 8 minutes. If we wanted a Naafiri to get enabled, I think the Naafiri has been enabled. I don't really understand the call here at all by Ninjas in Pyjamas to stick around for this Dragon. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. You're, yes, getting some of those free stacks on the Senna, but, you know, there are a lot of engage tools on the side of AL, and they use them to capitalize on the mispositioning error. It starts as a bad fight for NIP and turns even worse after the ult coming in from Naiyou. It's this over-aggression that is really, really punished, and now Tarzan's in a prime position to carry this game as he's completed his Spear of Shojin 8.5 minutes into the game.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and this is just so tough for NIP, you know, when we talk about their scaling and how they're just a little bit weaker in terms of the early game compared to guys like Shanks and Hope and the champions they have. It means that AL is easily able to stack up some of these dragons, and against scaling teams, getting an early soul is one of the best things you can do, or just, you know, soul sweeping as an example. So a little bit of a feather in their cap there. They're doing the grubs as well. That's going to be free just because you can't touch Tarzan at this point in time.
I think this is becoming very, very scary for NIP very quickly. Not only is Naafiri very enabled, and not only is it Tarzan, who is obviously a phenomenal carry, but you're already looking at these comps, and NIP's big advantage is their range in a lot of these fights over Naafiri and over Ryze. Well, if you have all of this engage coming from Sion and Leona and a potential Realm Warp, and you're dropping a lot of these damage dealers, I think it's reasonable to say that AL already scale better in this draft, even with a Victor and a Senna on the other side with as much damage with that Sivir, Ryze, Naafiri trio as they have. I think NIP need to keep their foot on the gas. If they let this game kind of stall out with that 4-kill lead, it might get even better for AL.
Yeah, and, you know, Leave is trying to do what he can. Again, we've put so much emphasis on the Senna stacks. He's got 41 stacks at 10 minutes. that's incredible. That's a really, really good pace.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can continue to keep this up, I mean, maybe he's able to, you know, help out the rest of the team a little bit sooner. Problem is, Doinb going with this Rod of Ages, you kind of have to, given the scenario, is they're going to go all in on the leave. They're going to force the cleanse out. But yeah, Doinb going that Rod of Ages because he has to. It's going to take a lot longer for him to come online.
That's huge. You just forced cleanse a minute and a half before Dragon. If that fight was going to happen, it's not anymore. Leave can't stay safe. Look at all of the engage, as I pointed out, on the side of AL. All you had to burn was Leona ultimate, which will be back up for the fight. Again, it's a really big cooldown there for NIP that they're just not going to have access to, and it's AL continuing to stay proactive, whereas NIP getting punished for stepping a little too far forward. And you can see that in terms of how the vision is set up on the map. Tarzan utilizing it to invade.
Oh, hang on. We're going to see a little bit of a skirmish here, I'm sure. Naiyou was able to secure his chickens. This Pantheon pick has really not had the intended impact that we thought it was going to have. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult to do so now, given the fact that Tarzan is so far ahead. But, you know, Naiyou chose the farm until 6 are out, which is totally fine. But his first ultimate just went 1 for 1. And he gave Tarzan a 4th kill. That ain't it, Chief.
Yeah, I think it ain't it. I think that's an apt way to describe it. is trading that was not good. And Naiyou is so integral to how this comp moves. You pointed it out earlier. This Mbessa was a power point that could potentially be taken advantage of. We have not spoken at all about the top laners in this
There's
game.
An Mbessa?
There's an Mbessa and a Scion, if you would believe
God.
it.
When do they staple Evelyn passive onto these guys?
I can definitely understand maybe why you're looking at a player named Solokill at 0-0-0, 12 minutes into the game and feeling a little bit betrayed, but it's just been so action-packed everywhere else across the map, and unfortunately it's just not gone in favor of NIP. I think the game gets harder for them from this point onwards, but it's still on Naiyou. When you're looking at ways to go in or ways to create fights, like, yeah, you've got Senna Victor damage. It has to be Pantheon. That is the only way that you are ever going to set up here, and that means they have to take things like this Dragon.
Yep, it's going to get started up, but here comes the rest of AL. Rise is going to have an earlier a move here, I should say. 3 from the top as they're trying to sandwich these guys in. Here we go, full engage, on to leave. He's CC'd for days. He has no cleanse. He has no life. He drops the ultimate, and Tarzan is going to follow him, and the Dark and Daggers will be able to take him down. Solokill joins a little bit late. He's immediately knocked up, but he's got a lot of HP. He flashes away. Public execution on top of Hope, looking to chase him down with a Dairy Count step, and he will. Flandre trying to disrupt him, but he can't. It's a double kill for Solokill. Shanks on the backside trying to roam warp out, and he roam warps the zombie Rise, the decaying corpse of Flandre. It is a fight win for NIP somehow, some way.
Does that count as a caster curse, Yanni, if Solokill teleports in and takes over the fight after we had just spoken about how he's not doing anything? Are we considering that a win for us as the casters? Because that was incredible stuff. Naiyou ends up with a really good angle on this fight, as we're going to see in the replay here. This looks like a fantastic engage for AL. They're completely pincered. Kael taking full advantage of the fact that he burned Leave's cleanse in that previous fight, but the exhaust comes down at the exact right time, just enough to keep Leave alive for long enough to force Tarzan over the wall. Flandre teleports in at half health, and at this point, they don't have the health bars. They've expended too many resources. This ult landing onto Hope is absolutely massive, though. Solokill, once again, coming in clutch. He's been huge in these mid-game skirmishes for NIP throughout the entire year.
Oh, hang on. Look at picture in picture. We're fighting. Niket is dead. He will not be able to survive. It's a nice aggressive play from AL to wrestle back control. As Naiyou is trying to walk up here. I think this is a bit of dangerous business because that's a lot of damage that Tarzan's able to do. Here comes the redemption down from the dead Braum as Doinb now coming from the top side here, but Shanks is in fog of war. He had no idea. Doinb's in trouble. He's forced to flash out. Naiyou on the backside with Leave. They're able to get the job done. Go, wait, Tarzan dropping that ultimate down. Look at these health trades. Naiyou is getting very low, but Leave is able to free hit. 63 stacks for this guy. He is hitting from so far away. 14 minutes into the game. His Senna is just built different.
We don't have a moment to breathe, Yanni. This is this is chaos incarnate on the Rift here today. so much happening. We might not even be done. Niket isn't going to be able to stop the back.
We have 10 seconds till Herald, man.
Yeah, Herald's coming up. We have 2.5 minutes till Dragon. Who knows how many fights we're going to get until then, but we're going to get a replay of how this all started, as it started in picture. Looks like it's just a pick onto Niket. It's actually really well played by Kael and Tarzan to see the angle, even with leave here. It's chunked out to half health, and they realize they can play aggressive, but at this point, they've overstayed their welcome. Doinb is making his way down from the top side, and Naiyou, despite the fact that he's getting dove upon, has the Pantheon shield and also has the Redemption, which is broken. Hope takes the worst possible path you can take and ends up taking his entire health bar to the tower and just gets free killed. Completely turns the fight, but now we're back to Solokill.
Speaking of free kills, Solokill is in a little bit of trouble. Dawning Shadow won't be able to save him. A nice play there in the bot lane, but this does mean that the Rift Herald is going to be started up by NIP.
We have no moment to speak on the game state, Yanni. We just have to keep talking.
The game state is fun.
The game state is even. Look at the gold difference. It is literally neutral here for these two teams. You pointed it out. The Herald has been started. Bot lane tower going to be taken here by Flandre, but definitely the prize is the neutral objective on the top side of the map. We're going to get a small replay of how this happened. It's just Solokill not respecting that Flandre can actually do a lot of damage and that Tarzan could be in the area. Actually, Herald not going down here. Yeah. It's actually just going to be, I was going to say the bot lane tower, but even that's going to survive at least until this next wave.
Yeah, I'm very curious as to why they had to stop. You know, was too busy looking at the picture-in-picture, and I mean, that just means this is a one play for AL without really any repercussions. We've started up again, but we're continuing to just do this dance here. It isn't really yielding anything, and Leave is left all alone. He burns his cleanse. Here comes the Redemption to keep him upright. A little bit of healing, but he's still alive, this guy. But he did put himself in a bad spot, and this does mean that AL should be able to move in on that Herald now.
You know, I'm not a pro. You know, I can't give you quite the coaching that some of the pros at ProDiff are going to be able to give you. A Redemption is very strong, and I think Leave is proving it. Here we go.
Double teleports coming in. Solokill going to bring up the rear of his team right now, looking for a nice public execution. We saw what he did last fight with it. Here we go. We might see another smite fight. Good public execution. And it's another one secured for Naiyou. He just is on every objective. Kael has to run for the hills. Tarzan and Hope can't really help. And the support has been tagged and the support has been killed. NIP get another objective.
Ninjas in Pyjamas are not just stepping up, they are dominating this game number 2 from a state that we thought was doomed. He has 80 stacks. Lead has 80 stacks on this Senna. He is absolutely massive. But I want to give so much credit to Solokill. He's played every single one of these fights perfectly on the Embessa. He ends up locking up Tarzan.
Oh, hang on.
So that it's not a 50-50.
No!
I cursed him,
Kman, what did you do? Kman, you caster curse this man! He's got no energy left. He is going to die to the dogs. And Flandre.
I can't
This is right before Dragon, too. But yeah, Tarzan has the back. We have, oh my god, so much is going on.
It's a lot's going on, Yanni.
This is a classic LPL game.
Death. This is a classic LPL banger that we are getting in game number 2. Herald's going to be crashing into this mid lane turret. They are going to be able to take it down. That's pretty big for NIP to open up the map. It is Infernal Dragon. That means Infernal Soul is available for these two teams. They're going to be charging the Herald down to the bottom side. It looks like they just want to use it for mobility as they end up getting a little bit closer. They're going to crash it into the wall. It's just going to go back into the mid lane. See how they want to move this.
Reminds me of my cousin who hit a curb the other day as Kael gets jumped on. And he's just dead. There's no support for what's going on in the mid lane here. NIP, they just have all this control everywhere. We've had to send Flandre down. Solokill is now on his way back. This Dragon has been started. You have no Leona. Your engage is really cut down here, AL.
Yeah, and the range that NIP have to poke this out is huge. The Dragon is getting lower and lower.
Yeah, this Dragon is just going to go down. AL, all they can do is push in this wave, and even then, it's half-hearted. NIP are going to be able to catch this. And as AL, you get chickens for it?
Yanni, I am perplexed. I am flabbergasted even by the play that we have seen. Tabe has got to
be losing it right now, bro.
I do not want to be in the room with Tabe as he watches the replay along with us for this fight. This Rift Herald is beautifully played against Solokill, locking up Tarzan as the smite goes down. It is not a 50-50. Naiyou is going to be able to land that, and all of the frontlining, all of the time that is being bought here means that the damage coming out from AL is completely non-existent. Kael is once again going to have to pay for his team's sins, but it's NIP just being more proactive and playing better as a unit. And I don't know how many times I can repeat this point, but AL's mid games over the past 2 months, they are coming back to bite them, and they could be putting them in a terrible position in Game 2.
I cannot believe that we are looking at a game state where, yes, NIP is down gold, but if you've been watching this game, you know that NIP is really in a good position right now. But Tarzan, 7-2. Remember what happened last game on the Jarvan? They lost that game. You mean to tell me, are they going to lose a game where Tarzan starts 4-1 on a carry?
I mean, if that's the case, like you are staring down the barrel of worst case scenario. It's not even just 2-0. It's like we've thrown the kitchen sink at NIP, and they've still been able to beat us at our biggest weakness that we've not been able to fix. Otacon on the map now.
Oh my
that
goodness.
is a ridiculous stat. Leave is just in a crazy spot, and it's going to allow them to start up. Or I should say AL is actually the one starting up this Otacon. See if the response comes in. It's getting very low.
Yeah, I mean, they caught NIP flat-footed here. 4,000 HP and getting lower as Pantheon is not going to be able to get in. This is going to be Otacon secured for AL. The question is, what's going to happen with the rest of this fight? We see on the backside, Leona has fallen. Flandre trying to get away desperately. I don't know if he's going to be able to get out. NIP is on the chase. Here comes Pantheon over the top. But it looks like the rest of AL will be able to escape. They will lose the bottom tier war.
It's definitely a worthwhile trade for anyone's Legend to be able to sneak that Otacon. I think that objective is very powerful on the current patch, but they're not done. They look to protect this turret.
They saw that Solokill TP'd out. It is a 4v3, so it is going to be difficult, but now we see Hope moving down. We have a teleport coming in from behind. The walls might start closing in on NIP. Leave is staying with the rest of his team, trying to be protected. Flandre's going to be a zombie for a little bit. Kael from the backside stuns up Doinb. Here we go, full engage. Tarzan going untargetable. Leave running out of room, and he finally dies. And AL, they win the fight. Here comes Solokill on a solo mission. He's got so much HP, he's got so much shielding, but he doesn't have anybody to help him. And AL ace NIP.
A huge turning point here in the game before anyone's Legend as Tarzan ends up utilizing that gold that he's generated to take over this fight on the Naafiri. You cannot allow that champion to free hit on the backline. It looks like a pretty good setup with you killing Flandre early on in the exchange, but it's just not enough. Tarzan rips through the backline of Ninjas in Pyjamas, and when you don't have that range advantage to keep your carries afloat, all of a sudden that 10-kill Naafiri feels a lot more realistic. I think AL might have just salvaged everything for them if they can bring themselves back into this game.
Without us out, Kman, they're going to take out a couple of turrets here. They're going to really get back in the driver's seat with gold. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough. Take a look at this replay. And when Leave doesn't have anywhere to turn, this NIP comp becomes hard to play.
Again, yeah, the range is what they have to go off of. Leave, unfortunately, kind of gets blocked a little bit by his team as well. They want to try to keep him safe from Kael, but Tarzan has free access onto the backline. With Doinb flashing out, it actually makes it even easier for Tarzan to flash follow and pick up that double kill onto the bot lane at this point. Yeah, I don't think the Victor is going to be 1v1ing the Naafiri. And also, let's give a lot of credit to the backline as well for AL. Hope and Shanks outputting as much damage as they were capable of doing in that fight, end up really sealing the deal. But it's Tarzan's game to win or lose. We put so much pressure on him before the game, and he's living up to it right now.
40 seconds until the next dragon is up, and here we go. We're already seeing another fight come through. Niket targeted out, Dawning Shadow to keep him upright. Now it's Kael getting knocked up, and he falls. The Redemption's not going to be able to save him. Doinb's in trouble. Doinb's dead, and here comes the freight train Scion, as well as Tarzan, shoving NIP away. Flash is burnt, but they're still looking for more. The health bars are blinking, and they're finally falling. Solokill running out of places to go. The public execution just a dash away, as AL are finally turning it on.
That is a huge catch there for AL. Dragon is up in 5 seconds, and Doinb and Niket are both down for it. That should be a free objective take for anyone's Legend that stops the stacking from NIP and puts them in a much better spot. Tarzan is ridiculous right now. He melted through that Victor in a ridiculously important spot. This guy is popping off, and if you wanted to talk about a world-class, a world's caliber jungler, here you go.
Yeah, he is really having a great game. He's been so good on this Naafiri in his career. 9-1, looking to make it 10. Again, we saw Hope with 7-0 earlier. I believe this split on the Sivir, looking to make it 8, and it wasn't looking good for a while, but now it's starting to look a little bit better. Tarzan finds himself in a little bit of trouble here, but with Flandre here, he is well protected, and Now for NIP, you're a little bit lost here. You're waiting for more scaling, but AL, they have plenty of scaling in spades.
I really do want to point out that that is a 6-kill Pantheon, a full item down on the opposing jungler. That is a really bad place to be if you are ninjas in pajamas. But
here we go.
AL looking to capitalize.
They're all grouped up. Double knockup is there. AL are pushing the pace, Kman. They have recognized the weakness in NIP, and they are exploiting it. Fight after fight after fight as Leave is being chased down by the dogs as the siege is on. The Baron is up, and I think AL won it.
How convenient. AL find a fantastic pick right as the Baron is spawning at this 25-minute mark. They're going to make their way to the top side, but this is the AL I remember. This is the aggression in the late game, the capitalization of weaknesses and mistakes on other teams that ended up getting them a championship in the spring split. Should be able to get them to a win here in Game 2 as long as they stay the course.
Baron secured for anyone's legend as their gold lead is now 7,000 in the blink of an eye. In just a matter of a few fights, it's all turned on its head. Here's that earlier replay that we had.
This is a phenomenal angle from
beautiful.
Flandre. I mean, this is
So
gorgeous. Good. They're all clumped up. They just barely don't get to the blast cone to be able to get out of here. They're chain CC'd into their own demise as Naiyou is blasted back into the rest of AL. Tarzan continues to dive forward, and the damage from him and Shanks is ridiculous, whereas Hope is just picking up a free kill on the back end of the fight. AL have full control of the map. Everyone at this point is online. The wealth has been shared, and AL are looking to drive a stake through the hearts of ninjas in pajamas. Hope has not lost on Sivir since June 14th. That is a ridiculous record for him, and he's in a great spot to keep that going.
This would be such a tough game for NIP to lose, right? Because you lose out on Doinb Rise, you lose out on Leave Senna, who has really played a damn good game, right? You know, the scoreline obviously is not as pretty as it once was, but hold that thought. We're going all the way in, but the health bars are just already gone. The Dawning Shadow, it's just not going to save you. Naiyou is stunned up, side of the backline. Leave is almost dead. Doinb had the flash, but NIP has completely fallen apart at the seams. Everyone is dead except for Leave. NIP left the door open for AL at that Otacon, and AL busted down.
The boogeyman is here to take Leave's life. The flash comes in. You cannot cleanse that damage, Leave. You cannot cleanse your Nexus being taken. AL fire back strong.
It wasn't pretty for a long time, Kman, but that Otacon, they snapped into it. They knew what they had to do once they took it. An amazing game coming out of Tarzan. It wasn't pretty at times, but he got enough kills early on. He was able to recover and finally started making big plays. And again, this is the AL that we thought we were going to see. They were finally in harmony making plays.
Yanni, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If you would maybe do that panic meter midway through that game, oh no, oh goodness, that would have been bad. But they luckily are able to, you know, corral themselves off the back of their world-class jungler being able to step up on a carry and drive them to victory. I think that there were a lot of great performances at the end of that game, but Tarzan was the one to keep them alive and to keep them in it. All it took was one fight to get them back, and their overall superior comp, in my opinion, ended up pushing them over the top.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you just have so much ability to move around the map, right, and cheat some of this movement creep. You have Tarzan who's able to just drop his ultimate down unless Naiyou is stunning it. He's getting to his priority targets. You got Flandre's Scion ultimate. You got the Realm Warps. I mean, you've got On the Hunt from Sivir as well. And obviously, I think Shanks and Hope took a bit of a backseat that game, but I think that what they did was very vital in that game, especially the damage they put out in that one fight after the Otacon that really turned the game around. And for NIP, they realized in Game 2 it was an expensive lesson that if you give AL an inch, they will still be able to take that mile. You cannot give them any opportunity to find a way back in. If NIP want to win this series, they have to be playing incredibly tight.
And I think that was really the problem for me with their draft, is that I like the idea of it. I like the champions, I like the scaling, I like the Pantheon. All of it in isolation is good. Specifically with the way that these two comps have set themselves up against each other, your margin for error is so much thinner than it is for AL in this game, because if you miss position once, if your range isn't perfect, then all of a sudden your big advantage kind of goes out the window. If Victor and Senna just can't free hit in the fight, you know, if Naafiri and Rise can play, it's hard. And so I think something I'm really going to be looking at for future games in this series, can NIP adapt in the way where, you know, maybe it's a little bit easier to execute, you know, maybe you don't need to position perfectly and keep your carry safe if you get pincered once the game's over. You know, maybe draft something that leaves a little bit more margin for error.
Take a look at these damage charts. A lot of members over 20k. And this was definitely a game that was like, okay, we're starting to pump out damage on both sides. Obviously, Doinb didn't quite get there. And it just felt like it took so long for him to get online. He really didn't feel like he made an impact at all in this game.
That's a huge difference from game number 1. I mean, Doinb was player of the game, rightfully so, on that Annie in game number 1. Game 2, he was invisible on this Victor. In fact, I think the most notable play that game was him getting caught out and really kind of costing his team a lot of pressure towards the end of that game. It really ended up being a problem for NIP, but everything looked so good for them at the start of this. This dive ends up going so terrible. You even have a couple of plays in the mid game that they're able to win. This felt like a game that NIP were ready to close out and take us to series point. They just couldn't quite hang on.
Yeah, I really thought after that play, I was like, oh man, are AL just going to fall apart at the seams? But I mean, these are veterans, right? Some of these guys. This is, you know, these guys have been around a while, who have been in really big games, who understand what playoff pressure is like. I mean, you know, the soul of the team, Tarzan, who is the guy who really carries Tabe's ideas into the game. Yes, it was a little rough at first, but it didn't deter him from trying to make plays. And finally started making hay on them. And I mean, that fight where he ended up getting the 4 kills was just, you knew it was going to be a game changer, and you just didn't see it until right here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the backbreaking moment. This is Tarzan being able to get onto every carry for NIP. Again, no range, no problem, right? If you can get on with Realm Warp, if you can use that engage that, you know, quite frankly, even without a lot of the setups here, you're Leona Scion. You have plenty of ways to engage these fights. Even Sivir Ultimate can make that a lot easier for the Naafiri to go. And then at this point onwards, this is the AL I remember. This wasn't a team that waited for their opportunity. They grabbed the game by the horns, and they finished it on their time and with their plays. They didn't wait for objectives. They just won the game. And I think that's the most encouraging sign for me. That's the AL that can really compete here in the LPL. Yeah,
you know, this is a team that we obviously has had issues in split 3, but you can still see it. You can still see the split 2 form sometimes. If you close your left eye and you close your right eye, it looks pretty good sometimes. But seriously, there are times that, like this, where they get a lead, they know exactly what they need to do with it, as you said, and you start to think that maybe they can find that form back. It's just all about cleaning up that mid game. As you said, and honestly, some of their early games have just not been as robust in this particular series. I mean, obviously you had Tarzan doing a whole lot in that first game to set behind Naiyou, but even then, like, they were not convincingly winning in terms of gold or anything like that. And here in game 2, again, it took a while once they got kills for it to actually get the car started. It's like that, you know, you're an East Coaster, so you know, the winter time, trying to get the car started in the winter, it doesn't quite turn over. Are we really surprised? We didn't really need to talk about MVP much here.
There was no conversation to have. This was Tarzan's game. He was up 5,000 gold at the end of the game. This is what needs to happen. I have put so much responsibility on Tarzan, but I think it's rightfully so. You know, I don't mean to keep pushing the point home, but really, I mean, this is a group of players that have, you know, struggled to break through that glass ceiling. Tarzan has been the facilitator to help them get there, and once again in this game, he is the one that is proving that on any given day or on any given game, you have to treat them like the best team in the world.
The battle-tested Anyone's Legend have evened up the series at 1, which means we have a series on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and take a short break, and when we return, the Game 3 draft.